Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show, the Monday edition, Monday, the 4th of October, 2021. Just like that, the year is about to end. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be here. We are currently at the beginning of trade time. And that is, as we said last week, that's finals time for Carlton because that's the time when there's most hope. So who else to get on to start the show tonight than the POM? Hello, mate.
Hey, mate, how are you doing?
Mate, I'm good. I'm so much more calm these days. I tell you what.
It's nice, isn't it? Like, off season, I always think it's the nicest time, isn't it? Because there's no football. It's just hope. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, especially
and that's
when
all you need. That's all we need, a bit of hope.
I mean, you've been telling me to get into the round ball for a while to get my mind off it. I watched the United game on the weekend. Got to say, did enjoy watching a game of sport in any sport and not being disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you don't support United. Yeah, I mean, the great thing is though about the round ball is you've got like 3 days to recover. So you're angry one day and then it's on to the next one. So yeah, it's good to have a distraction. Football makes you wait that 9-day period, doesn't it? But the round ball, quick turnaround, you can't be miserable for too long.
That's right. That's very right. Well, we're going to begin. We've got a new assistant coach. We've got contracts to talk about. We've got trades that have been suggested. We've got nominations to the club. We're a destination club. We're going to get through all of that and plenty more. But we're going to start the show as we always do.
What's going on? Fucking did it!
Martin's been very impressive.
Every single point!
I saw the Carlton supporters and I thank you for the love.
They've seen some playing Glasgow. And there's a magic moment. Oh, inside 50, control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
All right,
Good
Pom.
intro.
Absolutely. We always talk about it after it plays too. It's like we've never seen it.
It's good. It's pretty good.
It is. A lot to get through. I think we should start the show talking about a really pressing recent issue that's just come up over the last hour. And for those of you who aren't aware, the Carlton boys, our players, a group of them have gotten together, and what they're doing is they're shaving their heads on Friday, actually. Shaving their heads on Friday to raise and they're also raising money for the Peter Mac Foundation. Obviously, our own Sam Doherty's going through his battle that he's going through right now, and so they've decided to get together and shave their heads in support of Doc and also the many people who unfortunately are impacted by cancer. So I'm going to put a link in the comments right now. Basically, it's just a fundraiser. They were looking to raise $5,000 as of half an hour ago. Currently, they're sitting at 6,724. Now it's 7,133. It's amazing to see the generosity. I am fortunate enough to not have anyone directly affected by cancer in my life, but it's really nice to see the boys get around like this, Pom.
Oh, mate, it is, yeah, and it's a wonderful cause. A ghastly affliction to have as well, cancer. It's something that is prevalent in a lot of people's lives, and it's great to see that the boys gather around and also do something productive with the name as well, put some awareness to it, and fantastic support they've had as well. 7K in an hour and a bit is phenomenal. Shows the passion of the Carlton people as well. So sending our love to Doc, and let's beat this together. And if Carlton can be a part of it, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's quite a few of them that I think need haircuts anyway. So this might be a nice little reset for them.
Oh, mate, I mean, yeah, I'm sick of seeing expressive haircuts. You've got to be good to have a good haircut. So it'd be nice to see them all start from level 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do throw our support behind Doc and everyone else who's going through such a battle, whether it be directly or indirectly. Also want to thank all of you members of the channel. Your support is unreal. It really is. It's humbling. It really is. You might be able to notice the difference in the studio tonight. The studio lights have finally arrived. So I'm looking at playing around with them. If there's anyone out there, by the way, who knows how to use such things, please get in touch because I'm learning on the fly. So that would be much appreciated. Paul, we're going to get on to our first topic, and that is the return of a favourite son who bleeds blue. And that is
Mr. Hamill.
Mr. Aaron Hamill. So Aaron Hamill was announced just under a week ago as our new backline coach. I guess for you and for those in the audience, what did you make of this move?
Well, it came a bit from left field, didn't it? Because he wasn't one of the names that was heavily linked with us. But I mean, it makes sense. We've been talking a lot about bringing old Carlton back to Carlton, haven't we? Someone that gets the system, someone that's experienced. He's spent a while at St Kilda, and you look, he's done just about everything as well. He's worked with the forwards, he's worked with the back line, he's been chiefed with development. There's been a few articles as well, if you go back on the St Kilda page as well, where they've all raved about him. Ratton, Steele has mentioned him by name for his improvement in his defensive game, which is interesting. I like it. To be honest, I'm not bothered who it is in the back room. I'm more bothered if it's right for Voss, because I think a lot is made about creating a dream back room, and that's not necessarily the case. You find that great teams in the back room all sing and hymn from the same hymn sheet. So if Voss has identified that's what he wants at the football club, that's only a positive. Because before, when you look at Bolton and you look at Teague, it's kind of been like a mismatch of hand-me-downs. Do you know what I mean? So it's good. It's going to be a fresh slate, and Hamill gets what it's about as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I was too young. I mean, I do remember him playing, and I remember having a connection to him and starting to really love watching him play. I remember I think he had the number 4 from memory, and then 36 came around. I don't know the exact timeline of that, but there was a bit of from what I've been told, there was a harsh exit. Some words were said at a function by John, the late John Elliott, and he didn't leave the club on good terms. And I even saw his interview with Christian from the Carlton media team, and he was talking about how the Carlton supporters never let him forget about it. And I don't know if you believe in making things right, but my first reaction was, okay, well, someone who left on such bad terms such a long time ago, sort of coming back full circle. I hope that means that it's the end of the quote unquote curse. And then the second part is when you hear, Voss, Sayers, Cook talk, it's about the values of the club and realigning with that. And I think that's probably one thing Aaron Hamill definitely knows about. He knows about what it meant to be at Carlton, to play for Carlton. He was at the club, as a 17-year-old at a time when there was that, no, winning is the way it has to be. So, I mean, from a values point of view, I like it. Ultimately, I have no idea if he's a good backline coach. I would assume he's competent. He's been in the system for a while now. But it's the values and connecting the Carlton values and bridging the gap between what was and what is that stands out for me.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think like you go back and you do a bit of a history lesson, because this was before my time as well. I was in the old country at this point, so round ball was my life. But going through and looking at it and being educated by some of the older fans as well, seems that he did leave under a bit of a cloud. Rumours that he went for a bit of cash. But I thought what was really interesting about his interview was how much he missed the club, the passion he had for the club. And sometimes in life, if something happens and you're not happy with it exiting, it can get a bit messy. But if you get that second crack at the cherry, you're going to come back harder. You're going to come back a little bit harder and a little bit more committed. And I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it. If Voss is happy with this, and he seems to be, I'm happy with it. Because at the end of the day, it's all about that coach. If he's happy with Aaron Hamill, doesn't matter if you, me, Dave in the Dock and Duck like him. As long as Vossi has a good working relationship with him and they can bounce off each other, that makes us a better side moving forward. So I'm excited about this.
Yep, absolutely. We've got a great Carlton brain in the comments right here, Andrew Lake, who says that he played in a very notable period of our history. It was a massive loss to our list at the end of 2000. He wore 36 up until the end of 1999, was handed 4 in 2000. Okay, thanks for that. He wanted a contract that would have made him the highest paid player on the list. The Blues rejected it. Sadly, it got very personal. Okay, it's not like the Carlton Football Club to have a falling out, is it, Pom?
Well, I mean, some things never change, do they?
Yeah. So, look, it's exciting. It's there is a bit of nostalgia to it, and we are a club that, like it or not, we are a nostalgic club, and we are nostalgic because the good old days were winning days, right?
Yeah, spot on. So I mean, like for me as well. I mean, you hear as well. I was listening to a Steele interview from 2018 saying that Hamill's not scared to tell them as well when they're doing wrong, which kind of excites you that Voss is that way, Hamill's in that way. We've always had this rumor that our coaches are way too soft. Looks like they're going to get a bit of an education of standards because Hamill going through, obviously, my wife's a big St Kilda girl. Everything he's ever talked about on their channel is literally about standards, about how you approach preparation, old school methods, old school mantra. One of the philosophies he had, and that was interesting when he signed, his philosophy is a hard work and endeavour with pride in what you do. And that excites me because they're words that we've kind of regurgitated on here all the time. Where's the pride? Where's the commitment? So I'm excited about that. It's a good fit. It's a good fit.
No, very exciting. Very, very exciting. We'll move on now because there were a couple of new contracts announced throughout the week. We had young Honey, your boy, Josh Honey, the man who you picked with. Which video was it? It was one of the later picks where you had him in there, I remember. Pretty exciting.
I mean, it looks like that's going to be the only video we're doing this year as well because we're getting rid of all of our picks. So it'll be another dart throw from Pom. But yeah, it was the later rookie picks. It was the late rounds rookie pick speculation. Josh Honey, he was my pick for that. So great to see him stay on the list because quite often if Pom loves you, it's the D-list curse. So he's broken the curse. Well done, Josh.
We just need you to get his Guernsey behind you now, and then it's all set.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If Josh is watching, send it my way, mate.
Yeah, send it our way, mate. We're big fans. And also Matt Kennedy. And this was one that was spoken about over the last few weeks. He had a really strong, second half of the season. We'll call it. I think his first game back, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was the GWS game where everyone was disgusting pretty much except him, and found a way to earn himself a deal, which was good for him. What did you make of it? Because I know the conversation was around, do we give him one? Do we give him two? What did you make of the 1-year deal?
I think it's tough because you want to see these guys have, particularly Kennedy. I think he's one of them players that you kind of can't help but not like, can you? He personifies, I think, what a fan's about. Last year, bit of tough luck with the deal. Maybe people thought he should have been on the full-time list. He took his chance, though, and that's what we're asking these players to do. He had a chance. There was an opening in the team, and like you say, GWS, he stood out, and he stood out time and time again as well in a midfield that was really, under David Teague, completely lost at sea. So, yeah, probably deserves a 2-year deal. I kind of like, though, Carlton and maybe structuring themselves because will Bam Bam be a long-term player? In the terms of Hewett's in there, Cerra's meant to be coming in, Walsh is going to be there forever, Cripper's there. Maybe that's what Carlton are looking at in the terms of maybe a potential bit of trade bait for next year. Maybe you've got Jack Carroll coming through. Brodie Kemp is a current defender, but there is scope for him to go in the midfield. Maybe they've got their head thinking 2 and 3 years down the track. Maybe next year, if these guys break through, it's going to be surplus to requirements. So I understand where the club are coming from, but of course you want these guys to have long-term deals. You want them to be financially secure because we fall in love with them, don't we? But probably a good business sense decision.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I said it in his season review that I did that it's important to have a player like him on the list because I think out of everybody, like if you look at Samo, for example, let's just talk about the way he's been treated with selection and whatnot. Matt Kennedy has been on the outer for a significant amount of time, given what he's capable of, and there might be an argument to say that there wasn't enough belief in him early enough. Matt Kennedy's situation is one where if I'm his player agent or his manager, I'm saying, all right, let's look elsewhere. The fact that he stayed when he probably should have been playing a lot earlier than what he did, I think it's important to have people on the list like that because it shows you they really want to make it work here.
Oh, mate, he's hard work and endeavour, and that's all you can ask for as a fan. He personifies what I expect 22 blokes to do week in, week out, and that is fight for their careers. And he has personified that. I love Bam Bam. He's one of my favourites. I do think, though, you get into a situation, and I hate to bring the S word up because you hate it, and that is speed. That there is going to get to a situation where you're going to get a lot of slow players in that midfield. And you look at the other midfield, they're starting to speed up. So I reckon when you look at the makeup of our speed, Cripps ain't very quick. Bam Bam ain't very quick. Hewett ain't no world beater either. There will be a situation where you'll have a lot of them. So really 3 can't go into 5. So be interesting to see what they do. So that's the only thing I think with Kennedy. They're probably using it as a bit of a security net for themselves. But I think on his day, he's in my best 22 without a shadow of a doubt, is Kennedy.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather have slower players that are harder at the contest than quicker players that are not hard enough at the contest. And I think we've seen that over the last few years. We've got a lot of athletes. We've got a lot of guys that you look at their physical profile and you think, oh, wow, they're just going to run the ball across the ground. But it just hasn't eventuated that way. But no, I'm excited. I like the fact that he spoke about, there was a real maturity to the way he spoke in his interview after the announcement, where he spoke about, he was focusing on things that maybe weren't his strengths. He stripped it back to the basics. He was almost trying to become something that he wasn't. I mean, there's nothing wrong with working on your weaknesses, but when he spoke about back to the basics, his tackling and his intensity and those things that made him who he is and gave him the reputation that he had when he was drafted, I liked what I saw from me outside looking in. I saw some maturity.
Mate, I'm with you. And I think if you look at the top 5 teams in the comp, I think what they do really well is they do the basics. They do the basics well. And I think at times Carlton try and get a bit too cute, particularly David Teague. He asked the players to be a little bit too cute. Moments of brilliance, like Man United this weekend. It's not a team of talent. It's individual brilliance that wins them games. And that is my case in point there with Kennedy. He's gone back to the basics. He gets his head over the ball. He does the simple stuff well. And that's what the top teams do. The top teams do. You look at Melbourne's midfield, they do the basics well, and they let the players that can play, your Petrarcas, they let them go to work. And the boys do the hard stuff. And Kennedy's a solid player. That's what you've got to have. You've got to have that toughness there. And he's certainly in my 22 at the moment.
Yeah, no, I like it. We're going to move on to the next part of the show. We're going to bring on Lek Dog, and we're going to talk a little bit about George Hewett, which was one of the deals that's actually been done. Before we do that, I'm going to put the link in the comments right now for anybody who wants to come on and have a chat. We had some newbies come on last week, which was good to meet some fresh faces. But if you have any questions you want to raise about the club or what's going on, anything at all, please just hit the link. You'll go into a waiting room here, and I'm sure most of you who watch the fan cams know how it works. So I'm just putting that in right now, and then we'll get Let Dog on. It's been a while. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh,
Boys,
Let Dog.
fantastic to see. It has been a while, Terry. I've been busy doing stuff, trying to avoid footy for the most part, but we're back. Trade period, the best period of the year.
We are. It's a period that I know absolutely nothing about. I really enjoy taking a step back and learning from everyone else. I feel like I'm way out of my league with the two of you right now, talking about trades and whatnot.
Well, me and Pom have been in each other's DMs constantly for the last 4 weeks, so we're probably sick of each other at this point, Pommy.
Just sharing big algebra formula with each other, like proper nerds.
And shout out to everyone in the comments who's comparing Carlton players to Star Wars characters. There's some real deep cuts in there. It's good to see. It's good to see some crossovers.
I've got to say, as a massive Star Wars buff, my back is covered in Star Wars tattoos. I am very impressed. I've been noticing them and trying to keep a straight face. Shout out to Anthony Norton as well. You asked, I deliver.
George Hewett.
George Hewett, yeah. So we'll start there. What did the two of you think about the move? And I know Let Dog, we had a brief conversation about it. You pointed something out to me, which I might let you expand on. But what was your reaction, Pom? We'll start with you.
Mate, I was very excited. It's something that if you watch the PPI videos with me and Paolo from about 2 years ago, it's about, a month ago now, 2 months ago? It feels like ever. We discussed him. He was someone that the algorithm said would be a very good selection for Carlton. And yeah, I mean, one thing I like about him, and it's kind of an unknown, I went a little bit anal for a video with Terry when we do some more trade stuff. 17% on average when he's tagged someone this year, their output has gone down. It's the third highest in the IFL. Really interesting as well, when he plays down the back, small forwards have gone down 42%. So real high numbers there for his ability. And if you look at how he plays, you don't quite see them in the tackle numbers. You don't quite see them in the pressure acts. What you see, though, is this guy leans on players. He makes it uncomfortable. I was watching some slow motion footage from the finals this year, and it's his ability to stay always with you. He doesn't have to tackle. All he has to do is stay with you, and he's got this uncanny ability, kind of Jesus-like when he played on the ball. His hand touches the ball all the time. So I'm really happy with it. It's mongrel. I don't think we have a barometer of pressure. He brings that barometer for us straight away. So I'm excited about Hewett.
Yeah, I think he's obviously well, we can go into it. He's essentially Ed Curnow, but 6 years younger. So he's turning 26 soon. Worth noting that this year, 2021, a year where he didn't play the whole season in the midfield, for a period of time he was playing in defence for the Swans. He had more tackles than everyone on our list except Sam Walsh, Paddy Cripps and Ed Curnow. He had more disposals in 2021 than anyone on our list except for Walsh, Ed Curnow, Cripps and Sard. So he can find the ball, and his ceiling, I mean, you just have to watch that final from GWS v Sydney, where he had like 13 tackles, 19 disposals. That's him at his best, is when he's both accumulating but also just destroying the opposition. But there's a really interesting line you can draw to Ed Curnow's career with George Hewett. They essentially are the same player. So Ed Curnow across his career has averaged 21 touches, whereas George Hewett's averaged 18, slightly less, but he's also a bit more efficient with his disposal, 75% versus 69%. So he gets a little bit less of it, but he does use it a little better in Pom. That's probably because he's a handball first player. He handballs out to the outside players. He wants to find the outside players and deliver the run. You can see that where his meters gained per game across his career is a lot lower than Ed's, 159 versus 266, because Ed, as we know, gets the ball and bangs it on the boot. He'll turn it over a bit. But basically, what we've seen of Ed Curnow for the last 6 years, we're just going to continue that through George Hewett with a bit more cleanliness and hopefully outlet to a higher quality of teammate. And it's also worth noting that, similar to Ed, I mean, this guy doesn't miss games, Pom. He's averaged 20 games a season for his career, and that's including 6 games last year where he missed a lot with injury. The guy just doesn't miss footy. He plays every week, and that sort of consistency is going to be really good for us in the midfield, and it allows us to potentially use Ed in the forward line, Pom, maybe as a small forward defensive player.
Yeah, it's something that I've been harping on about. I don't mind Ed Curnow in the half forward. I think Carlton can't fix that small forward problem in a window. So I think you've got to look elsewhere to manufacture them tackles. So I'm quite happy with Ed's slot on the half forward role. Most clubs now play a defensive half forward, try and stop that run out. I think what excites me the most, though, about Hewett, and I think he's got 2 things Ed Curnow doesn't have. One, his ability to read the game is absolutely impeccable. Watching his last 5 rounds, his ability to peel off the guy he's tagging and then intercept the ball in is absolutely phenomenal. He takes the game on. And I'm excited because I think Carlton in the last 5 years, they have built their midfield around archaic structures of the 90s football. And nowadays, it's quite simple how it is. It is getting quicker. It is getting faster. You have one guy that accumulates the ball. You have 2 guys that get the ball out and the rest are skillful. And now we've got that guy who I think complements it, because these tough guys who get the ball in all other teams use the ball well as well. They're not just predominant taggers. Matt DeBoer, Viney, 2 hard nuts, Neil Bullen this year. These guys use the ball well as well. They get the ball to, like you said, the guys who play footy. So I'm excited about this. Slot straight in. He's used to working with a young side as well. He really brought them on and protected them well this year. So I'm excited about it moving forward. I think you'll see an improvement from players like Walsh, Williams and Dow with this type of guy in your team.
I think it's Sorry, Tez. I was just going to say, I think it's really positive that, there's been some question marks about signing to a 4-year deal. It sounds like it's got a trigger for a 5th, but if you're locking in 100 games of footy straight away with this guy, which is what you're doing based on his career so far, and maybe more when we're winning flags and playing a few extra games a season, I mean, you've got to be happy with that. You've got to be happy with that with paying rumored slightly above average money. I'm very, very happy with this signing.
Yeah, he strikes me as, I noticed him towards the end of this season, but just listening to the way he speaks and trying to make a read on him, and also he doesn't use Instagram. He does not, he has an account, but he clearly doesn't use it. No posts, just is not active. I like it. The guy looks like and sounds like, to me, a guy that wants to come in and just put the work in. And he wants to, and he spoke about the main reason why he came was because of the talent on the list. And I think he knows exactly how he's going to help this club. I just get a really mature, vibe from him, and he's coming from the Swans. Anyone that's coming from, Geelong or Sydney, these historically good cultured clubs, I'm all for it.
Yeah, massive hard worker as well. Massive hard worker. Longmire, Horse used Hewett to work with Parker as well. Parker was suffering from the tag. You've seen massive improvements in Parker's game as well. So I think that's an exciting factor as well, because I don't think, and this is harsh on Ed Kerno can't tag anymore. He hasn't got that ability to. We've seen it this year. Players get off the lease. He's using a yard of pace, which he didn't really have to lose. He's serviced elsewhere. It's a young man's game. He uses the ball impeccably. He doesn't waste the ball, which is important. He doesn't cart it 60 metres down into the half-forward line. He's looking to play first, which excites me as well, because it means that we're a better side in the midfield.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth there, Pom. I was going to say one of the exciting things from this signing is that we don't have to play Ed Kerno for 22 games in 2022. Whether you love him or hate him, I love him. We're better if there's someone pushing him out. And we've said that about all of these older guys the last couple of years. We need players to be pushing him out. We thought a lot of this would come internally from growth from internal players, but if you're bringing in a younger player who can push someone out like an Ed Kerno, and maybe Ed does play in the forward line or whatever, but I think it's a good thing for our club, and it's a good thing for the VFL side too. If Ed does get pushed out and he's playing in the VFL, he's going to be a wealth of experience for a lot of those younger guys, Jack Carroll and Durden and all that, although we want Durds in the senior team.
We do. We sure do. Nothing more to add to that. The other one as well, I wanted to talk about while I've got you on here, Lekdog, is Adam Cerra. So, yes. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because I want to talk about the rules and free agency, and I know that you have some things to say about this. So, as it stands right now, in this very moment on the 4th of October, it seems like the negotiations are centered around whether or not we give up pick 6, which will become 8, plus something else for something in return, as opposed to just doing a straight swap. Now, can either of you please explain to a simpleton like me who has no idea what's going on why we can't just give them pick 6, even if it becomes pick 8? Why can't we just give them pick 8 for Cerra and be done? Why do we need to have the extras?
Well, I would argue we should only have to give pick 6, and I'd actually argue we shouldn't have to give pick 6. But let's, in the construct of this conversation, I think pick 6 for a player that's uncontracted is fair. I think pick 6 is a really good pick. You run it through there's a lot of models. There's a Papley model on HPN Footy. Pick 6 and Cerra's worth a little bit more, but I think you take out the contract, the fact that he's not contracted, and pick 6 is probably an even swap. Freo want to go to their supporters and say, look what we got for Cerra. He's a really good player, but we got all this stuff. So they're going to want, I think, Pom, we're in agreement, they're going to want pick 6 and maybe a future second or something with something coming back. I've floated on Twitter that if it's pick 6 and they're insistent on a swap, you could swap this year's 25 for their 27. There's a few things you could do. Ultimately, though, I don't agree with paying for pick 6, and I think it would make sense to me that Fremantle would come to the table and accept pick 6, because that's the best offer they're getting from any club. And if they don't accept pick 6 and he goes to the draft, there's a chance he doesn't come to Carlton. but there's a 100% chance they get nothing for him. And I just don't see why they would put themselves in that position. And if he doesn't come to us because he goes to the preseason draft and someone picks him up, which, by the way, I don't think would happen. It's never happened before, especially with the club never giving medicals. We don't have to get into that discussion. We still get to maintain and hold pick 6 and take it to the draft. We don't lose anything if he doesn't come, but they lose everything if he leaves for free. So in a perfect situation, you wouldn't have to give him anything because the rules are very archaic. But I think pick 6 for him is a fair deal. Pom, I think you've got similar thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, out of contract players, it's a minefield. It's a minefield. We could probably have 6 hours of show of you and me debating why contracts are stupid in the IFL. But I mean, to answer your questions vanillally, Tez, because Jordan Clark. So now Jordan Clark's in there. That's what Fremantle are doing. Fremantle it's good business for Fremantle. They know Carlton want this player. They know Cerra is going to go there. They know genuinely Carlton are quite accommodating in these situations. So they're going to look as close as they can to satisfy Geelong's deal. So Geelong, they've asked for a first rounder. Geelong have said no. They've offered their second rounder, picked in the 20s. So they need to find some collateral to go in the middle. The quickest way to do that is you're dealing with Carlton. Try and find a deal. I think it gets done. Do I like it? Probably not, no. But looking at it, for some reason in the IFL, and this is a pattern, if a player leaves and there is father sons or compensation picks that push that pick back, the club selling want you to get back to that points value. So based on that, I reckon you'll see a future third and a future fourth swap. And it gives them roughly the pick 6 points they're missing because of Darcy and Dacos. But it's the AFL, you don't see picks anymore for one player anymore. They have to have steak knives. We're in a fantasy league, and it's like whenever one of the boys does a trade, isn't it? There's always one more bit when you read the trade that didn't need to be there. And that seems to be the AFL.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it stems, we don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but it stems from the fact that even if you're uncontracted, even if you haven't been offered a contract, even if you've been told by the club, we don't want to offer you a contract, on October 31st, when it ticks over to November 1, you're not contracted, but they still kind of own the rights to you, and your only option is to go through a draft, which seems really odd. It's like if I went into work and they said, oh, we don't want you to work here anymore as of Monday. And I said, great, I'm going to go work at Safeway on Tuesday. They said, no, you're not allowed to work at Safeway on Tuesday unless they give us some free shopping. It's madness, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think as the industry matures in this space, we'll see change. But until then, I think it's going to be pick 6 for Cerra, and as you said, Pom, a few things swapping about.
Well, I want to dig a bit into this. I want to talk a bit about the rules. I want to unpack it, and I want to educate myself a bit more because I watch a lot of the NBA, and my take on what we have here in the AFL is really just an Australian culture thing. This idea of the fair go and got to deal in good faith, and all of those things are true. But we brought in the free agency system, and I feel like we haven't really embraced it. Am I completely off the mark there?
No,
sorry.
You go, mate. You go.
Oh, well, the rules are basically there deliberately to kind of dissuade player movement. The AFL is really weird. It's the only league in the world that doesn't seem to want player movement because they're kind of hell-bent that the draft is the equaliser, which, if you look at other sports, it's proven it hasn't been. What is the equaliser is people who are very good with analytical data who can manipulate the draft to their benefit. And that is a case in point. But you've basically got your restricted free agents, your unrestricted free agents, and then your Mickey Mouse free agents, I call them, where you're kind of a free agent, but you're not really a free agent, but you are. But they're almost like a restricted free agent. So the way that the restricted rule is brilliant for the top earners and players that have served the time. The club has an option of sticking with them and matching the deal and then forcing a trade or letting them go through for comp. You've got the out-of-contract players, which we know, unrestricted. This one needs a rule, though. This one doesn't have a rule. Basically, the rule is trade for them, otherwise go to PSD. That is literally the rule. And the problem we've got in the AFL is And it's an Australian culture. Australians are nice people. They don't want to stab the mate in the back, right? But this is 18-man competition. They should want to pull one on Freo. They should laugh if they can get a top 6 pick for free. So, in my opinion, they need a rule here where I would have out-of-contract players out of contract from the 1st of October. And then from now, 1st to the 6th, would be a free-for-all. Would be a total free-for-all.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. This all stems from a few issues. One, that free agency probably hasn't been implemented fully and properly. Two, that your initial contracts in the AFL are only 2 years. So very early, you're out of contract and negotiating already. I think if you standardized it and made it 4-year deals, then you became a restricted free agent and the club could choose to keep you to that after that fourth year period. We'd see a lot more players staying and a lot more movement. But basically, what happens at the moment, I tweeted this the other day, if you're an out-of-contract player, you decide on a new team and the current club trades you for compensation. If you're a restricted free agent, you decide on a new team and the current club either trades you for compensation or receives compensation from the AFL. If you're an unrestricted free agent, you decide on a new team and the AFL gives you compensation. So there's this idea in the AFL that when a player leaves, you're entitled to equal compensation. I think that's where a lot of these issues stem from. This idea that it wasn't really what it was supposed to be, but that you get equal compensation back for a player leaving when you've had the player serve you and you've been unable to keep them contracted and interested in staying. So the idea that Marby Achol, so for those playing at home, if you've ever been delisted before, you're now a free agent when you're out of contract, which is how it should be. Marby Achol gets a second-round pick when he's not getting a second-round pick in a trade, but because he's only 24 years old, he gets a second-round pick because the AFL is trying to give equal, fair compensation to Richmond, when really I think the system would be better served if we're insistent on all being friends and giving compensation. You just give them a pick at the end of the 3rd round to fill the list hole, because the AFL shouldn't be making judgments on how to make up for the lost player and go, oh, you lost 120 games of a player, so we're going to give you a draft pick that averages 120 games of players that are drafted there. If there's compensation, it should be at the back of the draft where it doesn't affect the other clubs, because currently free agency, if a player leaves, it creates 2 winners and 16 losers. And the idea is that you're making it fair for the club that loses a player, but you're actually making it unfair for the other 16 clubs. So it's slowly evolving, but it causes issue. And then when this uncontracted player stuff comes up, the only reason this is still an issue and still discussed is because no one's actually really pushed it as far as they can. And, if the Blues, they did it with Jack Martin, if they did it with Cerra or someone else and said, no, we're going to the preseason draft again, I'm pretty confident that the AFL would stop it. Or if one of the players were to take the league to court for restriction of trade and restriction of movement, like we've seen a long time ago in the soccer, I think was it the Bosman rule, Pom? Unless something like that happens, it's not going to change, and you're just going to have everyone working within these weird rules, all being mates, and that's why uncontracted players get traded. It's just because no one's tried to change it, really.
Yeah. Pom, you spoke about it last week about having the goal to actually play the rules as they are and force the AFL to change them. But Lekdog, you mentioned the Marby Achol situation. We're in this situation of equality and fair compensation and whatnot. Well, the greatest team of the modern era in the last 5 to 7 years, Richmond, have now got a second-round pick for a player that was not going to be worth anything on the trademark. It's a hypocrisy to me.
And they were only had access to that because they had previously delisted him because he wasn't good enough to be guaranteed a spot on their list. And now, purely because of his age, they're being rewarded for it. And I fundamentally disagree with compensation altogether. But I think if you were to do it, the NHL has a kind of better model where most of the compensation picks come in that end of 3rd round, and unless a guy's signing a $50 million contract or whatever, they're getting a 1st round pick. But the current system is it's trying to give equal compensation, but all that does is really ruin the draft hand of other clubs. It's really kind of backwards, and especially for a league that's hyping up the trade period and does 24/7 coverage of it and sponsors it and has 800 ads a minute about it and draws that much revenue from it. They want the movement, but they're not quite mature enough to make that step and make it a true free movement. system. And part of that stems from the players as well, not willing to take on that risk on their behalf. But I just think there'd be some easy solves, starting with longer rookie contracts and obviously no compensation or restricted compensation, because it really screws with everything. Like Richmond getting a second-round pick for a guy that if they traded, they might have got a fourth, maybe a third. They get given a second and everyone else gets punished because of it. It just doesn't sit well with me. And anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that. So you can follow my rants there as well if you want.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's you definitely educated me a bit more tonight. I had a feeling that something was not right, but I didn't know how to put it into words. So I appreciate that.
That's all right. I'll be more. I've got a whole script prepared. I'll be more eloquent next time I speak about it.
No, I thought you did a good job. Anything else on your mind you want to raise to the table?
No, I've just seen that Mitch Clear is reporting Dean Solomon and Brendan McCartney are potentially coming as assistants. Lewis Young, lots of stuff happening. Blues are always in the news. You're welcome, AFL.
Well, let's touch on Lewis Young. There's another one there that he's officially nominated. Before I go on there, Chef's Michael's channel with the $4.49 super sticker and Ugo with a $20 one. Thank you, guys. But Lewis Young, what did you think, guys?
I'm not surprised we went for him, given he dominated us in his first game. Generally, we go for players that beat us, and he wears sleeves. So they're two big ticks for me, Pom. I know we wanted to address the key position depth as a necessity. I thought we'd hit it in the draft, Pom, but we've done it. We've done it by trade, it looks like, or will do.
Well, I mean, he's the Jack Carroll of his draft class as well. He made the cutoff, I believe, by 10 days. So he was given the option to stay in the draft for another year and go enter the draft the year after. He took it early, went quite early as well, top 50. It's a decent shout for a tall guy. Half of the work has been done for us. He's already started to be developed, which is huge, I think. So would I have liked to have drafted one? Yes, but this is probably the best option, really, for us, because now we're at the situation where we're looking to stabilise once we're in the 8. And good sides, with this equalisation method that we're still talking about, keeping it linked, good sides have a conveyor belt of talent. So good sides look now for 2028. And are thinking, who's going to be there? Who's going to reach peak there? And that's a good... to me, this is a better trade period already because we're looking at the right moves. Bit of a questionable kick, Lewis Young, but when you're 202 centimetres, God didn't make you for your deft of foot. Spoil machine. I saw a couple of VFL games this year on the telly. I didn't get to go down and watch them like I usually do. So scouting's been a bit weird. But one thing is clear about him, this guy gets his hands first all the time. 202 centimetres is tough to play against. So he's definitely got the hallmarks for me of a real good pickup. And I don't like using it because pinch hitting in the ruck's not a position, but he does give you that option, I think, long term to take the stoppages down back, which I think good sides do. They rotate in them areas. You watch Carlton, we think about rotating centre clearances because we concede more goals than Christ. Good sides, though, rotate it round the ground. So that gives you the option there of Lewis to do it down the back and a forward take it at the forward, which gives TDK, Pitternet that little bit of a chop out when they need to and be the target outside of 50. So I'm excited about it. I like it.
I think it's really interesting with Lewis Young and Adam Cerra and to a degree, George Hewett, that I think this, they've been talking about this slight reset. I think this is it. I think they're looking at these 22, 23-year-olds to bring them in so that in a couple of years when we're competing, they're there to play and they're there to be a key part of the team. We're kind of skipping that draft period, which can hurt teams. But when you look at how a lot of our draftees have gone, it feels like that we're just kind of trying to skip that first couple of years. We're letting the other teams develop it and we're just going to build from there, hopefully. So I think this is signs of that reset. Lewis Young, I'm excited to see him probably replace a Liam Jones in a couple of years, and I think this is smart. I think so far what we've seen from the club this year has been good, and it hasn't been These decisions don't seem to have been made with a lot of external media pressure yet, whereas last year, Adam Sard, we gave up a fair bit to get him. I think that was largely external pressure, things that we said in the media, and it looks like we've kind of, bolstered down a little bit, and I'm very excited. It's going well so far.
What gets it done? Is it a straightforward deal?
I reckon.
That's a good question. It's probably a future third pick. Yeah, we don't have much this year to give away. We might only have one draft pick by the end of it this year, so it'll probably be a future third.
Yeah.
Bargain, cheap as chips, bunchy deal. We love it.
I'm down. 22-year-old, 202 centimetre player that can play in defence and in the ruck. I don't know, wears sleeves.
Huge. That's the most important bit. Played in the grand final
as well. He's a good-looking boy as well. I'd say he'd be top 3 good-looking Carlton players.
Absolutely.
Marketing appeal. Love it. Lek Dog, appreciate you coming on, bro. That was a great chat.
Always a pleasure. Love it.
We'll speak to you soon.
See you later, gentlemen.
See you, mate. We got Ashan.
Oh, hi. Yeah. So
how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How about you?
Good.
Yeah, so I'd probably like to talk about the midfield rotation and centre bounce, because I think over the last couple of years we've been absolutely poor at that. I think under the Brendan Bolton era, I think we gave Cripps his fair amount. However, we didn't rotate it properly. We gave Dow too much early. I think he broke some record. And SPS too many too early as well. And then I think when Bolton got sacked, then we decided to, give Murphy and Erno all the centre bouncers. And we weren't really rotating it enough, in my opinion. Whereas I feel like sort of in the back end of the year, I think we did that a bit better. But I think we'll have a proper, good, deep rotation coming into next season. And I think the versatility of guys such as Cerra to go a bit on the wing, Walsh as well, which I think he'll need to do. And then, who else? Hewett down back can sort of play there for little bits. And Cripps also should play maybe 20% forward. I think that's good. Yeah, and I drew up a centre bounce attendance sheet, and I think I put it at 24 as, say, the centre bouncers. I'd Cripps on field for 20. He goes to 18, I think. And then, I think, who else? It was Hewett who went to 14 as well. And then I think, I think it was Kennedy that also went to 14. And then, however, I had Stocker in at 4 because I feel like we need to find the balance. I think we need to give him 4 centre bounces, say, a game, to sort of get him into that. Because I think that's what we failed to do with SPS when we sent him down back, and now we're getting nothing for him.
Yeah. Pom, I want to get your thoughts on this too, because I mean, I know that there's a frustration with, O'Brien and Setterfield and whatnot. I still have hope that they're going to be able to make something of themselves, particularly Setterfield. I know Setterfield had a down year in 2021, but 12 months ago he was our most improved player. I really do still think there is room there for him to emerge in there.
Oh, I agree with you. I think exactly what Ashton's saying as well. I think we need more rotation. You look at Carlton last year, this year just gone, we very little do we rotate. And it becomes, a lot of these players are rhythmical, particularly the ruckman. They're very rhythmical beans. They get into that like a fast bowler in cricket. They get used to what's going on. Same with batsmen. They just get used to what's being delivered. So I agree. Ashton's spot on. We've got some real great options now as well to swing through. And I think as well for Williams there as well, Cerra, these are guys that can play other positions that when you need a bit of injection of pace, you need an injection of something else, you can throw that, because the top teams have a guy that's like 11%, 12% in a game. And they just bring in quickly. And now we've got that as well, which we haven't had for a while. So I agree, Ashton, great spot there. We've got real great varieties, because it's quite hard to do a best 22 at the moment for the first time ever.
Yeah, like I tried picking it a couple of days ago. I was like, some blokes that'll walk up starts like maybe 3 years ago. I remember 2018, Fisher, I think, was comfortably top 5. He's probably on the fringe right now. Like, it's sort of hard to. Oh, he's still best 22 in my opinion, but like, it's kind of hard to put him in. But I do think with him, that's a big one where we need to settle him down in a position, because partially why his development has sort of gone just straight line a bit is because we've thrown him everywhere from the forward line to the wing to the midfield. Just, yeah, we need to settle him down somewhere.
Well, the other part is as well, which we don't know yet. Aaron Hamill sort of alluded to it when he spoke about, the group, the coaching group, they're going to get together, understand what they want to do with the group and the direction they want to go in. So with that, I mean, my question is, are we still going to play with the idea of, when everyone's fit, it's Harry, Charlie, Mitch, Jack Silvani in the forward line? I just don't know. Like, is Zach Williams going to be a midfielder? Is he going to be a halfback flanker? Is he going to be both? Is he going to be doing this rotating thing with Jack Martin forward mid? So there's a lot of unknown.
Yeah, that's another thing I looked at, because the forward line, I sort of tried to put Mackay, Curnow and McGovern in there, but then I realised, Silvani's a lock now.
Yeah.
He's our heart and soul player. You can't just take him out of it. And then again, TDK, he might be rotating forward at times. So I thought, that's too tall. So I think, yeah, we're going to need to probably go with the 2 main key forwards. And then like Jack Silvani's a bit of a sort of a more like a medium forward. Like, he can actually more like get the ball. He often like kicks it inside 50 instead of just being more of a marking target. So I guess I'll go with like probably the 2 key forwards, and then like the 2 medium forwards, which will be, I think, Jack Martin, and then the small forwards, I don't know. It's actually there'll be a lot of competition for spots with, say, if Fisher goes down there, Owies, Honey and Durden, like all of them are pretty similar, I'd say. Yeah, because Honey looks like a breakout star, I reckon, for next year. And then, yeah, Durden looked amazing, I think, with his pace and his pressure, which is something I think we really need, because we need to lock it in for longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I like it. I like where your mind's going, and there's still so much. Well, we've still got to get a few more coaches. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the group. And, once preseason starts, we'll get a bit more. I'm assuming we're going to get more information, through the club channels about what we're doing, who's playing where, and how it's going to work out. But until then, we just got to sort of theorize, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well, because what Ashen's saying is like found in the stats as well, because Melbourne and Doggies, they average 9 players in a rotation on the ball. Carlton average 6.
Yeah, that's huge as well.
And it's crazy as well, because you look at the guys that were the 5th and the 6th, you're talking 11%, where Melbourne, you'd get to their 8th and 9th, you're talking 18, 19%. So they've played a large part, almost a quarter on the ball. So I love it. And I think that, like, I don't know about Ashen's favourite midfield, but for me, what I want to see is Hewett, Cripper, Walsh, Dow, and then the 5th guy being rotated heavily. Another pacey guy. Yeah. If you need to be defensive, throw Kennedy there. Do you know what I mean? And put men behind the ball if you want to stop the rot. Do what Melbourne do. That's what these top teams do now. They play very quick, but they always have that option to slow it down when they need to. And that's something I think we struggle with. We can either go quick or it's dead slow. We've got no medium. So I'm excited about this. And I think you're spot on, Ashan. We've got great options.
Yeah. And we've got the right team to do it, because a lot of them are quite versatile. They're not just, I think all of them, if I'm not mistaken, can also play somewhere else. I think that's also what Hawthorn in 2015 did, because Mitchell and Hodge were absolute guns in the midfield. I think they played a bit of the back line as well. So you really need to, I guess, rotate it sometimes. And I think that will really help us.
Yep. No. Well said. Thanks a lot for coming on again, Ashan.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
See you, mate.
See ya. Bye.
Mr. Beach.
How are we, boys?
We are well. We are very well. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. So you've obviously touched on Lewis Young coming through to the club potentially after being nominated to us. Just a couple of other names I want to throw at you, potentially. Oliver Hanrahan. What do you reckon? He's linked to Collingwood and Gold Coast, apparently, but would you have a look at him if you were Carlton?
I'll tell you an interesting story about Ollie. I went to go and see him because I have a lot of friends out in the Box Hill area. And I went to see him once and he tried to do a banana from the pocket. And no word of a lie, it ended up over the interchange bench. That's not a word. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. So based on that, I would rather swap my wife for one of my exes.
Only you would come up with that, Pommy.
And just so you know, I'm not on good terms with any of my exes, so it's not a positive. It's not wishful thinking.
Only you would come up with that. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know much, to be honest with you, Beachy. I don't know. I haven't watched him in depth anywhere near enough to know whether or not he's a viable option. I really don't. I'm a little bit stumped here. Maybe those in the comments want to add to that. I'm not sure. What about you?
I'm not sure, but you were touching on about players that we need to get with pace. I'm looking at Oliver Hanrahan. Just briefly to see if he can be a potential option, and if we can get him across, then we can hopefully see for the right deal. Now, the other name that I'm potentially looking at, we might only see him probably short term, but I'm thinking Daniel Talia from Adelaide. He's 29, going on 30. He's not on the list at Adelaide anymore. Would you reckon he'd be a fit?
Who was that? Sorry, it cut out on my end.
Daniel Talia. We spoke about him last week. I sort of just floated his name about. I really think he's got a lot more to offer than what he's being given credit for. I still think he's got 2, maybe 3 years left in him, and I genuinely do believe that. I think from my end, it would all depend on how he would get to the club. If it was like a rookie spot, a rookie deal, I mean, there's value in that. But I don't know if that's an option for us. I would hope it is, because I just think he's a quality footballer, and the way he speaks as well, he sounds like a quality person. But I don't really know too much. Pom?
I like Talia, but for me, I want to see a player of that age come because he's grooming the next generation. I think we've got Liam Jones, and for me, Wheaterin, he's only a baby, but he talks like he's 44. So I think they've got the experience there. So I like the Lewis Young. If I was choosing between Talia and Young, I'd go Young because he's going to be there in 8 years' time if we get it right. Talia's just going to and I think we've done this too long as a football club. We've postponed the operation with players where we've got a player for 2 years hoping that someone comes through. I like the fact that we've gone, right, Jones is now, Lewis Young's the future. There's no in between. We've got 2 years. Get it right. And I like that. And to answer your question about Hanrahan, seriously, I like it. But my issue with Hanrahan, I've seen him play, is we've got a shitload of players on our list that do what he does already. 9-10 touches a game, 1 goal in 2, 3, 1 and a bit tackles. Like, if we're bringing someone in, I want to bring someone in like a Josh Rochelle, who I know he's going to hit the ground running. He's got Caleb Poulter vibes. It hurts me that he's at Collingwood, but he's another level to him. Like, go for the now. Like, Hanrahan would be great, but Honey, if we can't get a first 22 player through the door, like a Thomas Papley, I'm saying Durden, Honey, you guys have got the gig now. It's time to sink or swim. Like when Fev left that time and everyone just had to pull one out and just had to make it do. Now's that time. Durden, Honey, always, there's a job for life. You get this right. You've had Eddie for 2 years. Show us what he's taught you. And unless it's a top 22 player, stick with what we got.
That's funny because when I looked at the Phantom draft, I was thinking, maybe Josh Rochelle should come to us as well. Just on the off chance he might slide.
I'd love it.
Not when we trade away pick 6, guys.
No, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah. Anything else on your mind?
Well, we already know about Voss. We don't know about Hamill. Is there anybody specifically that we can name for the middle or the forwards? Because I thought Cruz was going to remain as the ruck coach. Clearly, I was mistaken there.
I'm not sure. I'm not aware of him not being in that ruck, division. Like, I don't know if he's got an official role or if he's just more of a, he's a Carlton person and he's willing to come to the club and do some part-time work. I'm not actually sure of what the arrangement is. I don't think he's necessarily an assistant coach.
Yeah, like you, I'm probably not sure on either. But I had a look at the Carlton website, and he wasn't listed as one of the coaches. So
he wasn't listed. Oh yeah, I think from memory, and someone might be able to quote me if I'm wrong. His original deal was VFL Next Gen and Ruck Consultant in the seniors. Right. So it was kind of like his role it's the same as Cade Simpson, but replace the women's team with the Next Gen. That kind of thing. Like, we want you here every day, but can you just come in and give us the benefit of your wisdom when we need you? So I think that's what it is, but I could be wrong, but that was my understanding of it.
No, that's fair, Paul. That's fair.
Yeah. Love your work, Beachy. Thanks a lot for joining, mate.
Thanks, boys.
See ya.
Mozzle's just nailed a chant in chat.
I've seen it. Stayers at the wheel. We love it. MFC Sports Crime. Great show, guys. Love your channel. Good luck next season from a Demons fan. See, look at the class of the Melbourne Football Club supporters. Just a really classy bunch. You've
thrown me under the bus, haven't you? Because I hate
it. Maybe we can learn a thing or two about such things from the foot. I actually remember when we played the D's this year, I went to the game and it actually stuck out to me how polite they are. Like, I'm here in Armadale. There's a lot of Melbourne fans in this neck of the woods. It's a far cry from the rusty northern suburbs that I originate from. But yeah, a really classy fan base. Thank you very much, MFC Sports Crime.
That's what private school does to you.
I
should say that because I am a private school boy too, believe it or not. So don't know how that happened.
You fraud.
I'm a proper fraud. I mingled with them. I mingled with them for 4 years.
No, that's fantastic. All right, guys, before we wrap up, I'll put the link in one more time if you want to head to that fundraiser for the Peter Mac Foundation. Obviously, our very own Sam Doherty is one of many people that is affected directly or indirectly with cancer. So if you do have a few spare dollars, I think the goal is now 10,000. I mean, I'm going to refresh it now. I wouldn't be surprised if it's been reached. Yeah, it's been reached. We're at 11,339 now. So well done to everybody.
Surely you and me, we shave our head.
I knew you were going to say it.
Throwing him under the bus, peeps.
I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. I'm way too vain with my hair.
I reckon it would make a mint, right? We could auction both the hair off, and then because we know you're so precious about your hair, there could be a second auction to shave your head. Like, that'd be worth at least 20k. I'd be keen to chip in big money to shave your head just to say I've done it.
Vasily's eyebrows then. All right, we'll shave the eyebrows. Oh, gosh. No. I'm not shaving my head. I'm sorry. I cannot commit. I will donate. I've donated. I will raise awareness. I'm not there. I'm just not. 20k will get the job done, though. 20k will get the job done.
Why won't you shave your hair? You've got chiseled features.
I did it once. I don't know if it'll work. I look. Yeah, I
don't know if it'll work. It'll grow back, mate. You're young.
We'll see. At the moment, it's a firm no, but $20,000 is $20,000 if we're able to get that done.
If someone throws 20k, I'll go around to his house in the night and we'll do it with or without his permission. How's that? Like, fuck me, 20k, bro.
Okay, we'll think about it. Coming up, guys, coming up this week on the channel, tomorrow morning, the Almost Blues Brothers podcast. If you haven't caught up on their show last week, they had Paul Barbaza on, which was a great episode. So that'll be out on all your audio platforms from 6 a.m. The individual season reviews will still go ahead. I'm also working on something. I had a read of the PwC sports survey that they bring out every couple of years, and they did it in conjunction with the company I used to work for in Israel, Hype Sports Innovation. And there are some very fascinating insights into the trends and things that are happening in the sports industry. And basically what they've done is they've interviewed or they've surveyed a significant proportion of people in the industry, whether that be at federation level, club level, investor level, about what they're seeing and what they're noticing. And I've put together a bit of a summary. I'm going to work on a bit of a series. We'll have it on the channel here, but I'm looking forward to that. There are some interesting trends when it comes to media engagement. And when you look at the future business model of sporting organizations, I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation for us.
Nice, mate. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be exciting. We love learning things here at Blue Abroad. We do. We're all about educating here. Pom, what about you? What's coming up on Pommy in Oz on the YouTube channel? We're going to be cranking out some FIFA content because my wife was happy. Season had ended. She gets me back, and then she forgot FIFA drop. So she had me for 4 days. It was a good 4 days. And I'll be doing that usual bit of Carlton stuff, bit of round ball. To answer Nathan's question here, I have just started working on, for when Terry requests the video, our first NBA type AFL depth chart. So I've broke it down so it will be like last year, but it will be a little bit more interactive and you can have a bit of fun with it. And we might do that live.
I'm
so
down.
you can argue about it with me.
I like it. I like the sound of that.
But apart from that, not much really. I'm just waiting for the sides of my hair to grow back, and that's it really.
This is about as long as you'll see my hair go. I mean, until I cut it next, this is as long as it's been, pretty much.
I reckon your face, though, if it was shaved, the cringe on your face would be the best TV. Honestly, the best TV.
Jad said it well here. It's sacrosanct. Anyway, I'm getting. We're going off live before you convince me. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining. Hope you had a good one and have a great week ahead.